Hey guys, today we're going to be doing food photography and we're going to be hitting this one head on. That's right, we're doing a head on style shoot. So we're shooting head on to the food to try and make it look as epic as possible. This is going to be great, it's going to be fun, and I got a tasty treat in mind for this shoot. Let's get into it. Now there's a lot of different angles of food photography. You got your top down, you got your 45, you got your head on. That's what we're going to be focusing on today, is the head-on image. Now, you can use it for a wide variety of food, but some things you can't. It's kind of hard to shoot anything in a bowl or anything that doesn't have any height. This head-on angle is designed for height in your food. So you got a big pile of cookies. You've got that epic burger, that big sandwich, cake. That works exceptionally well, and that's what we'll be using today. So it doesn't work for all foods, but it does work for a lot. And it's a very common head-on type look that you see on a lot of magazine covers. So without further ado, we have to get into our first thing that we need to think about. What's this photo for? What are we going to use it for? What's the mood? What's the theme? You've got to think of all that as you start planning and building your shoot. The better you plan, the better you prepare, the better your images will come out. So I kind of wanted something a little light and airy. So I picked a different type of background and surface. Now I'm just using the wall as my background because it will match in to the DIY tabletop surface that I'll be shooting on. It's just on the back of another board, but you can use all different kinds of backgrounds to help set your mood. Do you want it dark and moody? Do you want it light and airy? You're setting the theme by the quality of the background and the surface that you're shooting on. Now, you don't want to do something like this and get into that very distracting, very noisy background. You want the background to complement your image, and you want your hero, whatever it is, that sandwich, that cake, to really stand out and pop. And a background like that really detracts from it and is annoying. So be very careful in what you're selecting in your background, because you're shooting food head on. That background is fully exposed. Now, once we've got our background in place, we need to make sure that we've got enough distance between the background and our subject so that it'll fall out of focus nicely. Now that we've got our background and our surface all figured out, we've got the mood and the theme, we need to think about the horizon line. Do we want it visible? Do we not want it visible? No matter what, there's one thing we have to do first. We need to make sure our camera is level so that horizon line, whether visible or not, is still straight. Now, a lot of tripods like this have a bubble level or a level built onto it, so you can make sure that your camera is level. Now, if it doesn't have it, you could get something like this. This is a little bubble level. It actually came with the Sony ZV-1 screen protectors for the back. I got a couple of them in there. Kind of an oddball thing that they put in there with it, but it's kind of handy. It just slides into the hot shoe of your camera. So if your tripod doesn't have it, there are little ones available, or you can just simply go to the hardware store, buy one, and you can attach it to the top of your camera just to make sure that you're level. Now that we got horizon line level, we need to decide, do we want the horizon line in the image, or do we want to try and hide it? Because if we find the horizon line distracting, we can hide it. How do we hide it? Easy. We place things along the horizon line to hide it. Flowers, books, boxes, anything, some props that we're using has to complement the image, but we can hide the horizon line. Now, you don't want to just simply put a straight line across the back because it won't look very well. If I put an image partway up the table and something at the back, it's going to help balance the image, and when you're shooting that head on, it's going to block the horizon line, and that's what we're after. So don't think you just have to lay items along the back of the horizon line. You don't. You can lay in layers, which is a good idea because now it creates depth within your image, but you can hide that horizon line. Also, like I mentioned about boxes, books, anything adds a little bit of height, adds a little more interest to the image, and has the bonus of hiding that horizon line. So decide whether you want the horizon line visible or not. But there are ways to hide it to get that effect that you're after. And as I say, it's really good if you have things in the foreground and in the background that you don't have just a straight line, because we always need to be aware of composition, rule of thirds, triangles, S shapes, all the different compositional rules and patterns will help make your image pop and stand out. Because remember, the key is making that hero, in my case, that cake, look fantastic and make it the main subject. I don't want to over prop it. So if I got too much props on the table, it starts getting lost, it starts getting confusing, it starts getting almost as bad as that background that was overly noisy. So be aware of your propping and keep it to a minimal that it enhances your image. And you, like I say, you can hide that horizon line. Now let's have a look at some examples of where the horizon line creates a bit of a problem. You can see in this image here where the horizon line is cutting through the cake and it's taking away from the cake because the horizon line is getting distracting of where it cuts through on it. Now if I drop it down a bit, now it's kind of at the bottom of the cake stand. It's better, but in my opinion it's still not good enough. Now look at this final shot here where the horizon line is well below the top of the cake stand, and now that cake pops off the background because the horizon line is set lower. It emphasizes the cake more and it gives me a bit more of that straight on view, which is what we're after. We want that head on look. You have to be aware of when you're shooting head on that your depth of field is very shallow. Your plane of focus is very narrow. If you're shooting at 2.8 or 3.2 wide open like that, your depth of field is very shallow. Even if you're shooting a 45, that's a very shallow depth of field. You may need to stop down a bit in order to gain a greater depth of field. Or you can do a technique called focus stacking. I'm going to put a link to a video I did down below exactly on that topic to help you out. What it is you take a bunch of images at different focus points of your subject and you compile them in, say, Photoshop, and it creates a composite and you get front to back focus. Works out great. Product photography, food photography, it's a really good technique. So if you don't want to increase, say, and shoot at f8 or f11 because it's not the look you're getting within the background, you can stay down around the 4s or whatever and do focus stacking to get that illusion that you want. So be aware of your depth of field when you're shooting head on, that plane is very narrow. So that's it for this one. I can't wait to tuck into a piece of that cake because it looks awesome. Anyways, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe, hit that bell notification so you're aware when I post new videos. If you enjoyed this, please give it a thumbs up. So until the next time.